Welcome pilots, my name is Hybrid V, and today I'm going to show you how to be an effective turret gunner in the Star Citizen universe. One of the most venerable positions on a starship is the position of a crew gunner. This is because the gunner can wear many hats in many situations for the vessel they're crewed on. They could be everything from guides that help the pilot when landing and taking off, to the first and last line of defense when coming under attack by pirates or other opposition such as players. They also tend to have the best view in the house. In 3.10, turret gameplay was massively overhauled with a brand new UI and targeting system. This has made turrets on larger vessels far more effective than in previous versions of the game, giving enemy pilots reason to pause before attempting to attack a large vessel. So without further ado, let's dive in and see what it takes to become an ace gunner. The first thing we'll want to familiarize ourselves with is the turret cockpit. For manual turrets, we have access to the clickable auxiliary controls within the cockpit. To access both the turret and controls, we'll need to power on the turret first. We do this by holding down the interaction key, F by default, and select Power On. Remote turrets work in the same way in that they need to be powered on before they can be used. The main difference is that you will need to access the remote turret's view controls from your station once it's powered on, so you can actually use it to target enemies. From this position, we can use the interaction mode to enable or disable certain other features, such as tweaking the turret's movement sensitivity, among other things. Next, we need to understand the HUD symbology on board the turret cockpit. This symbology is also the same on remote turret viewports. Immediately in the center is the crosshair. This is where our gun barrels are aiming. When a target is selected, a circle will form around the crosshair. Turrets in 3.10 have come with its own version of targeting assist that will help nudge the barrels toward targets that are close to the crosshair. The more broken up the circle, the less accurate the tracking is, and the shots will be more likely to miss. If the circle is solid, then the turret has a strong lock on the target and the rounds will be more likely to hit. This feature is useful for staying on target when the opponent tries to dodge incoming fire, as there is some leeway before the shots start to go wide. Always try to keep the circle solid when engaging targets to ensure maximum effectiveness. As you use your mouse to slew the turret around, you will notice this triangular symbol followed by a line leading to the crosshair. This is our mouse indicator, and the line leading to the crosshairs are the direction the barrels of the turret will follow to match the mouse's movements. With this mode, there is some delay when moving the mouse, and it can be a bit difficult to make precision shots. This is because we are in virtual joystick mode, where our mouse is simulating the behaviors of a joystick. You can switch to relative mode by pressing Q on your keyboard. This will disable the virtual joystick function and make aiming more responsive. Alternatively, if you don't want to use your mouse for aiming, you can use any connected joystick to aim the turret as well, as all controllers will automatically be mapped to the turret controls by default. On the left and right hand side of the crosshairs is a pitch ladder with degree markers. And further to the left and right is the heading tape, which displays bearing markers in a 360-degree arc around the ship. Just below the heading tape on the right and left hand side of the pitch ladder is a numerical readout of where your turret is currently aiming. The left number is the current bearing number, and the right is the current pitch in degrees. So why are these two metrics on the HUD important? Well, when gunning on a large vessel, it's vitally important that the crew communicates threats to each other, whether it's to the pilot or the other gunners on board the vessel. These markers can help a turret gunner quickly call out threats so other gunners can respond or at least be made aware of where the threat is. For example, we see a target approaching. The gunner that spots the target first can then call out the target and give its bearing and pitch. The other gunners can then look at their bearing and pitch markers and adjust to aim their guns at the same target. Teamwork is vitally important when serving as a turret gunner on a ship, as these markers can give the crew extra tools they need to be an effective fighting force when fending off hostiles. Below the numerical readouts for the bearing and pitch is the current status of various assists on board the turret. Starting from the left, we have Gyro Mode. By default, the turret's gyros are active on the turret. This will keep your aim stable as the craft moves about. I recommend that you keep the gyro on during combat, as it will keep your aim independent of the ship's movement, allowing you to stay on target longer. However, if we want to switch it off for any reason, we can tap G on the keyboard to turn off gyro stabilization. Below the gyro mode indicator is the staggered indicator. By default, turrets fired in a linked pattern, meaning they will fire all weapons at the same time. This can be great if concentrated fire is desired. The main drawback, especially for slower firing weapons such as cannons, is that their missing shots will be more costly. By hitting V on our keyboard, we can activate staggered firing mode, which will alternate the rounds coming out of the barrels. The upside to this mode is the constant stream of rounds being sent to the target, especially for slow firing weapons. The small downside is the lack of punch you would get from having 2 rounds hit the target at the same time, rather than one or the other. On the right side, we have ESP Mode. ESP stands for Enhanced Stick Precision and is on by default. ESP will lower the sensitivity and increase the fidelity of the turret's aim when the crosshair is on the target's pips. ESP is mostly useful for joystick users, as joysticks tend to not nearly be as precise as mouse controls. ESP is automatically disabled when switching to relative mode. You can disable ESP manually by pressing E. Also note that you can adjust how ESP behaves in the options menu by going to the Options, Game Settings, and finding the Turrets section. Here you can adjust dampening curvature, which affects how much aim dampening occurs when ESP is triggered, and you can also increase the size of ESP's trigger zone. If you use joysticks for turret gameplay, I recommend you take some time here to dial in your preferred ESP settings. Below ESP is the status indicator for relative mode. We mentioned this earlier in the video, but just to recap, turrets are defaulted to a virtual joystick mode that takes mouse inputs and mimics joystick movements. Relative mode turns off virtual joystick functionality and locks the crosshair directly to the mouse. If you move any controller, such as a joystick that is mapped to turret controls, relative mode will automatically be turned off and ESP mode will activate. The small circle with a line intersecting it is the bow marker. It will always point to the front of the ship, handy if you get lost while aiming the turret. Alternatively, you can press and hold down C to recenter and align the turret with the front of the ship. At the bottom center of the HUD is the turret limiter. This can be activated by pressing Shift. The limiter, when active, slows the traversal rate of the turret, handy if you need more precision while aiming. You can adjust the limiter with either the W and S keys or the mouse wheel. And lastly, at the outer edges we have the vertical and horizontal limit indicators that show when the turret is close to the end of either the pitch or horizontal traversal, depending on the turret that you are in. It is a simple warning letting you know that you are approaching the edges of the turn or pitch capabilities of the turret. Okay, now we got the HUD down. Let's go ahead and take a look at some common strategies that can help you maximize your effectiveness. One common mistake players make is they tend to open fire too early on approaching targets. This can lead to weapons overheating during the fight, or worse, overheating before the target even gets in range. Always make sure that the pips show as an open box symbol, indicating that the target selected is within your weapon's effective range. This is a good habit to build for PvP as well, since players can judge how far they have to be before the rounds of the turrets reach their maximum effective range. It's much easier to judge this if the gunners are firing wildly at the target while outside the weapon's effective range. Different weapons have different ranges. Again, if you're ever unsure of what range you can hit your target at, just wait for those pip symbols to turn to an open box. Use the HUD to communicate with other gunners. The heading tape and pitch ladder we talked about earlier are valuable for reporting targets to other gunners. Always remember to report target positions on the heading tape and whether they're high or low in relation to the ship. With enough practice, a ship with gunners that communicate with each other can be an effective force multiplier, providing defense but just as importantly providing deterrence to player bandits. If a ship has more than one turret position, it can be handy to assign one gunner as the fire control operator. Their job will be to assign targets to other gunners. Now, in a hectic combat environment, there is no way for a fire control operator to really micromanage each turret's target. Instead, what the FCO can do in this situation is assign priority to certain targets instead. For example, an FCO can tell other gunners to focus on light fighters first before they should start going for the larger ships, or tell the gunners to go after players first before the AI. This level of communication is essential to ensure the survival of larger ships. Experiment with different weapon types for turrets. Cannons work great against AI, as a competent gunner can easily erase AI in seconds with well-placed cannon fire. whereas those cannons may not be nearly as effective versus a competent enemy player who can easily dodge the slow-moving projectiles. Planning is half the battle, and mixing up weapons for different turrets can also make your vessel far more versatile. Don't forget to utilize the MFDs in your turret cockpit. While you cannot change the parameters of various pages in the current builds while in a turret position, you can, however, switch the pages to see the current status of the ship, as well as you are the only person that is capable of overclocking your turret's guns. Currently, MFDs don't follow your crosshair as you pitch the turret, meaning that MFDs can slip out of view from time to time. CIG has already confirmed that they may be taking a look at this and make MFDs follow turret's pitch so they can remain useful in providing status updates for the gunner. But as of recording, no timeline has been established for this improvement yet. If you want to know more about MFD functionality, be sure to check out my video here. If you own a large vessel that has a turret position, don't hesitate to ask in chat if anybody wants to crew up. 310 came with a new money trading app, allowing you to split the profits of your trades with your gunner crew. And if you don't plan on trading, you can share fighter sweep missions with your crew and share in the credit rewards after each contract. And if you yourself are a turret gunner, don't be shy. Reach out in chat and ask if anyone needs a gunner for missions or trades. Chances are someone out there is more than willing to crew up and share in the profits. This is also perfect if you're a brand new player to the game and you want to earn some credits and also check out some of the cool ships the game has to offer. And who knows, you may make some interesting friends along the way. And lastly, if you plan on taking a large vessel out for a spin, to say do cargo trading, no amount of turret gunnery will compare to the effectiveness of having an actual fighter escort. The reason for this is that in space, it's much easier for enemy ships to dodge your defensive fire and lay on the heat. Given enough time, even light fighters can destroy larger vessels while taking minimal damage for their effort. The only time this is not true is in atmosphere. This is because the fighters will lose their speed and maneuverability advantage, making them easy pickings for turret gunners. So if you're getting chased by players, drawing them into a planet or moon's atmosphere will drastically shift the balance of power in your favor, as they will be subject to the atmospheric conditions of said planet or moon. This concludes my overview of turret crew positions. Turrets are increasingly becoming a common sight in the verse post the improvements of 310, as flying ships without gunners can leave you a sitting duck when you're doing lucrative trades or even just exploring. With the incoming changes such as object throwing, object push and pull, tractor beam tech, and even a pirate safe haven in the form of the Pyro system, possibly just months away, now more than ever you can expect the verse to become a far more dangerous place, as it slowly becomes more lucrative to prey on helpless ships looking to make an honest buck. With turret crews, however, you can have a fighting chance to make it back home in one piece. It's also a great way to make a credit or two when you're brand new to the game and just want to get a lay of the land. Alright folks, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about turrets. I actually had a blast putting this one together thanks to my org, Forgotten Heralds. They helped me set up the PvP and stuff, and we practiced against each other in the verse and tried different weapons and different ships. And it was a blast. And also they happen to be recruiting, so if you are looking for an org yourself, you can check out the description box below. The link to the Discord is there. You can come out and hang out with them and me, as I'm in the org too. So yeah, if you found this video useful in your day-to-day playing the game, please be sure to leave a like, and if you have questions, comments, concerns, or just need to know the meaning of the universe, go ahead and hit me up in the comment section below. I do read all of them, and I do try to respond to them accordingly, especially if there's any good questions down there for any of you new or returning players. Also, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon, as it will give you a notification when my videos go live. Many of you already know I work in the game industry as a sound designer, so I don't always have time to put videos out every day or every week, so having that bell icon is super useful so you get up-to-date news notification for when my latest video goes live. Alright folks, until next time, I'll see you all in the black.